It is week 4, and Scarra has been finally released from cryogenic prison, where he's been in storage since some shady stuff happened. But now he is here in a suit, and we're going to talk about CLG versus TSM tomorrow, among other things. Scarra, how does it feel to now be at the studio?
Embarrassing, because what I did on stage was very bad. I ended up just okay. So obviously, procedurally, I know what people do when they go on the stage. Remind the players what to do. Level ones, like talk about the strategy, all this stuff. Make sure everyone's in a good mood going in. But after, I was so focused on okay, I have to leave 10 seconds before the level, and they're talking about level one, so I was trying to listen on that. And as I left, I just exited myself into an area that wasn't an exit. So I just tried to swim my way through the curtain, and there was no exit. And I was just I'm fucked. And I turn around, and the guy's still waiting there. Yeah. And he motions me over, and I'm like, what are we doing? And he puts out his hand. And as he does that, I'm like, I fucked up. And I shake his hand, and I bow, and I'm like, I messed up so bad. And he's just laughing with me as we walk out. It was so bad.
That's awesome. So the TV of the press room the stream wasn't working on there, so I missed this entire thing. I hope a lot of it ended up on the broadcast. Did you get any tweets or anything about that?
Oh yeah. I in fact, if it's not on the front page of Reddit when I get back, or as right now, I would be very impressed. Okay. Surprised.
I am so excited about this. It is so good to have you back, Scarra, so that we could get these classic Scarra moments. Anyway, let's before we talk about Valentine's Day and your plans, I'd love to first get into that game. So it definitely felt, early game at least, Coast comes in, they get the first couple kills, Smithy's just chewing meat on the other side of that window. It's very creepy. Anyway, Coast comes in, they get the first couple of kills. I tweeted something like, of course CLG will probably lose this game because that would ruin all the hype for TSM thing, and it would just be very CLG. What do you think of that match?
I think our preparation was really, I'm not even gonna say poor. I think the way we adapted to the situation at level 1 was bad. I really can't talk too much about it, to be honest, because it'll give away stuff that we would use or might talk about for tomorrow. But I didn't really think our draft was too bad, but I thought our early game strategy was not correct. And that is, of course, due to a little bit to preparation and a little bit to we'll go over it. We'll learn. I'm just glad that we were able to come back from something like that, And it sucks that we had to show a poor showing the day before TSM, because maybe it's better for us because maybe we look weak and vulnerable now. Yeah. But I don't think we were as bad as the team that played today. I'm not saying Coast is a bad team. I'm just saying that we typically put on a better performance. And had they not messed up a couple times, I don't know if we would have been able to come back into the game without a superior play of our own. And so I just think that game was a poor showing from us, and we'll learn from it, and we'll come back to tomorrow better.
How much do you think of, you mentioned that it was just superior play that allowed you guys to come back after their mistakes. How much of that do you also credit to the draft? Because there's been so much discussion this season so far on what CLG's drafting, their picks. Lemon did that interview with me, I think last week, where he's they're starting to get cocky. And it seemed like late game you guys were just able to, the comp just seemed to me at least, that it felt like a large component. So any thoughts on your guys' recent drafting decisions, how that played out in that game, that kind of thing?
I think we typically have a very clear idea of what we want to do, especially during the draft. Our drafts just tend to be pretty well focused. It's just sometimes we don't perform parts of the draft that we are during the game to where our draft needs to be, to our draft strengths. For instance, if our drafting strength is that we have a strong laning phase, we have certain lanes that are more open to gank than others, it could be bad for us if we misplay that. We go to the wrong lane to put pressure, or we end up just not playing to our comp strengths. And I feel like a lot of our 2 losses have situations where that has occurred. Yeah. However, I think a lot of drafting right now is just we learn from it. I feel like there's a lot of potential. Oh God, I don't want to say that word. There's a lot of things that you can do with draft right now, and I feel like it's really easy to copy other drafts, right? And we certainly do that all the time. Anyone who scrims this will know that that's true. But we also tend to try to focus more on maybe our own individual strengths and our strengths as a team, like what we can play well together, and certain like what we can do against other teams. And so sometimes when we play against certain teams, that we draft for the team itself and not for against the team. So if you look at both drafts in a shell, you'll be like, okay, well the enemy got a better draft for us, than us. But in our minds, we got the better draft because we know they underperform on certain champions, or we know like certain habits that they do that make those champions not as good for them as for other teams. And so, of course, like if we lose, we're gonna get torn to shreds for some of our drafts, like for sure. And even today, we'll be like, well, it was a drafting problem, right? Like this didn't work out, that didn't work out, and I feel like if I look back in the game, yes, we could have drafted maybe a little bit better, for sure. But it's really like shifting the blame a lot if people are just like, it's because they draft poorly. I think a lot of it is just like they didn't play the correct conditions to win the game.
So it sounds like you think that CLG might be uniquely, or maybe in a much better way, selecting their drafts based around the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent.
I think it's just one factor that we put in. Like I think we're just doing a lot of experimentation with the draft. Not so much at LCS, but even like outside of LCS, we tend to experiment a lot. And we culminate it in like our LCS drafts and what we think is good and bad. And maybe sometimes we don't draft ideal, but I feel like we have a good way of working with draft right now, to where even if we don't draft well, we have like a clear way that we can win, and that we can use that to learn to create better drafts later. So maybe like, yeah, I think the first game we lost, or the only game we've lost, we messed up our draft a little bit. And like one of the champions was incorrect. And so moving forward, like we were able to pinpoint that and immediately fix that for later drafts. And that's something that we can do even today. Even though we won the draft today, or not won the draft, won the game today, we can look back on the draft and be like, well, maybe this could have been a better answer. Is everyone comfortable with this? Stuff like that. And I feel like just talking through it and being sure and like learning from your mistakes is like the most important thing to improving as a team. So that like maybe like we're looking pretty good right now, but in the playoffs, I want to look like the best like people I've ever seen.
Now, while so much of the hype is around you returning, even more of the hype is around CLG versus TSM. That rivalry tomorrow, you guys are going to be going head-to-head against them. What is this, just like a community hype, or are you guys internally very excited about this? I mean, what are you guys thinking about approaching this matchup tomorrow?
I think it's really important for all the players, because I think typically when we play, statistically, TSM is the only team that has close to a 50-50 win rate against us. So because of that, they're in scrims. Everyone else is like, we just do really, really well. But TSM is always the team that we feel like is the best right now, other than like us. And we feel that, and like a few other teams that I don't really want to name right now. But I think that they're just really good. And the thing about CLG versus TSM is it feels like there's always something extra when we play them. Even in scrims, it's like kind of personal sometimes, and it's funny. But like the rivalry isn't just fake. Like it's not just like media produced. It's like when we play against TSM, it's serious. Even in scrims, it's serious. Like we go in there and we want to like smash them, or like we want to like play as well as we can, even in scrims. So I feel like it's all going to accumulate into like an LCS game tomorrow, and like even if it's like it might even be a stomp for one or the other side, but I feel like it'll still be a good game.
So there's so much discussion around, like Double F versus Wild Turtle, Bjergsen versus Link, but something I haven't heard yet is Scarra versus Locodoco. So I'm going to pose a theoretical, situation to you. Let's say League of Legends was an RTS, and you could control the actions and brains of all of the players on your team, and so could Locodoco. Who would win?
I don't care. That's my straight answer to the question, is I don't care. Because a lot of people have tried to compare Western coaches, and I find that it's really easy for you to say you're the best, and it's really easy to say someone else is better than you. Certainly, it's easy to be humble, it's easy to be arrogant, but it's best, at least for me, to be like it's not a competition between us. Even if he's a better coach, like I certainly think that I have a lot to improve on, a lot to learn. I just focus on what I'm doing, and he just focuses on what he's doing. And if we clash, that's where we can show that, like, at least to a little bit, like how good we are, or like our strengths as coaches or stuff like that. And maybe sometimes it doesn't show that. Maybe the better coach loses, but that doesn't make me think any less of myself, or make me think any less of Loco, right? To me, it's just like, everyone does their own thing, and you come together to play each other, and it's like it's not personal at all. Okay. I just feel like coaching is pretty hard, and if Loco looks like he's done well for TSM, but I don't know. I think he's a good coach.
You made a noise just now like you had another thing you were going to say. No? Okay. I do have one final question for you. Valentine's Day plans.
Well, like any other LCS day, we're going to go back and watch the game. And then afterwards, I'm probably going to solo queue all day. So, I really think this day really encompasses what it means to be a League of Legends player. Single. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, no. It's I just expect to work with the team about our game today, and afterwards, kind of wind down and prepare for our game tomorrow.
You and Tony gonna go on a date? Zixlong?
Yeah, I'm glad you had to specify because I wasn't sure with Tony.
Well, I thought maybe I was. There's a lot of other people that will watch this besides just you and me.
I prefer the Mr. Gray. To all of those, but I mean, I guess Tony's okay. He already has someone, but maybe I might try to make that a triangle instead of just like a line.
You have any shoutouts, plugs, anything you want to say to all of the fans out there in the world?
Well, I want to shout out my sponsors: SanDisk, Razer, NZXT, Twitch, Law Class, and I by Power. It's crazy how I can just remember all of those, but yeah. I also want to thank our fans, and I'm sorry our performance today wasn't very clean, but honestly, expect tomorrow's games to be really good. Like, we're going to go back and we're going to just try to iron out our problems here, and we're going to try to just improve day by day, week by week basis.
It is not surprising to me that you can remember all those because I'm sure you are very appreciative of all the support they have shown your organization, Sky.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can check out the rest of our coverage of all things LCS at ongamers.com.